The events of the last 10 to 12 months, have they soured, how difficult have they been? Have they soured your kind of passion for broadcasting and punditry?
Obviously, my career ending the way it ended was not the way I would have wanted it to end.
Or do you think your career is over?
Well, I mean, I felt like in my 70s it was time to give up. The mistake, and that cost me my job. I suppose you could say they who live by the sword die by the sword. I suppose really when you think about the kind of outspoken person that George was and the kind of person that George was in terms of challenging any kind of thing that he thought needed to be challenged, well, maybe sooner or later, you know, he was going to get caught, and that's what happened.
Do you think a part of the old George died that day? The passion for it?
I don't think George ever died, really. My father, and so much about my father lives with me. It was probably a good thing, really. If you look at a bad thing and say, well, what's good about it? I don't think I would have ever stopped work, you know? And if that hadn't happened, I would just kept working, and I think I would have died on the job. Instead, I stopped working because I was forced to stop working. So suddenly I wasn't working 5 days a week anymore. And suddenly another life opened up for me. I could watch my grandsons play rugby. I could play golf. I mean, it sounds trite, you know, but I could talk to my wife the odd time. I just think, in a way, I almost belong to a different era. Do you know what I mean?
How difficult was it at the time? And I suppose, given your past mental issues you spoke about, health-wise, did they arise again or resurface? Or
well, I was stronger when it all happened. They camped outside my door. The media camped outside my door. And I mean, I was a member of that media, you know, but I saw a face of the media that wasn't very likable, you know. They camped outside my door. They kept ringing the phone.
Did you just stay in the house? Or did you leave?
Well, it was quite interesting. I guessed something was going to happen. I wasn't sure. I didn't think it was going to be as bad as it was. But I remember I said to Ingrid, why don't we clear out of town for the weekend, you know? And she said, I'm not going to be driven out of my house. She said, let's go to Super Value and stock up for the siege, you know? Now, we didn't really realize what the siege was going to be like. But they were camped outside my door. And my eldest daughter was very hurt. In a way, I could have fielded it all fine, you know what I mean? But I saw the hurt from my family. It hurt my son terribly. It hurt my eldest girl terribly. I saw her almost have a breakdown in front of me, like in tears. And it hurt Ingrid. Ingrid's stoic, you know, so you don't see it with Ingrid. With my children, you see it. But I know how hurt she was. And like every time they picked the newspaper up, there I was, you know. We found 12 clear cases of libel. 12 over that period, where literally, I mean, there was one newspaper had a front page story in which there wasn't one word of truth in it, not one word. And I went back and asked my family, and I said, are you okay with me suing? And I had a case against probably every national newspaper. Are you okay with me suing all them? And they said, if you do that, we'll never speak to you again. Just at Christmas, like it all died down at Christmas, so I come into the kitchen, and Ingrid says, you're in the paper again, you know, and I said, oh my God, what's happened now, you see? And you might remember this hashtag me too, right? About all these sex pests or whatever, right? So the first picture on this article, top picture is Harvey Weinstein, hashtag me too. The next picture is George Hook, hashtag me too, right? And then the third picture is Kevin Spacey, hashtag me too. Now, how by any stretch of the imagination, no matter what I did, you could put me in the same set of pictures as Harvey Weinstein and Kevin Spacey, but they had no problem doing it. Like, fine, great. You develop pretty tough skin, I tell you.
Was the more difficult part the effect it had on your family?
Oh, yeah. I mean, my case was pretty brutal, you know. That weekend, and they were, like, they'd be pushing notes through the letterbox. They were telephoning, and I was sitting there watching television, and they came to the window of my house and started banging on the window, while I'm watching television. We didn't open the door or anything, of course. And then they would send messages like, tomorrow we're going to run a story that you are whatever. But I think we in the media, all of us, have a responsibility. So therefore, if we screw up, there has to be a price. So I screwed up and I paid the price. So I'm in favor of paying the price, even though it affected me. My son, who unfortunately is called George Hook, my son runs one of the biggest rugby tour companies. And he certainly lost business where people had booked with him and cancelled, But the funniest ever was, because I believe in God and I believe in heaven and that, I was asked a few years ago to speak at a novena down the country in Carlow, somewhere like that. And a number of priests have asked me to do it. So this priest in Sligo had asked me to speak at his novena. So the next morning, my daughter writes to me and says, listen, what's this about Sligo? And she'd found it on the internet. And parish priest in Sligo says he's not having George Hook speak at the novena, And I remember writing to him and saying something. Even Mary Magdalene, who was a prostitute, Jesus was okay with it. What's so wrong with me? I think if you can't take it, if you've spent a career, happy to give it out, I think you have to be prepared to take it. I would have happily taken it. I would have stood in front of them outside my home, all whatever number they were, 20, 30, 40. I would have stood out there and I would have given as good as I got. But I wasn't going to see my wife and my children, the effect it had on them. I can't even tell you what it was like to watch my daughter. You can't even imagine. Because there's a thing about being a parent, and they're your children, and they'll be my children until, they're old age pensioners. If I live that long, they're still your children. And to watch your children hurt is just awful, It's just extraordinarily hard to explain.
What's the next step for George Hook?
George Hook isn't very good at sitting back. The future of media is not radio, and it isn't television. Podcasting in some shape or form, or internet televised interviews like this, are the future. This is where it's going to go. Pundit Arena is the future, not George Hook. So therefore, what I want to do, and I haven't really got it yet, because I wanted time to pass, and time has passed and I'm ready. Hook's good to go. So maybe there's a case for a phrase I use on a Saturday morning, a place where conservatives can find a home. There's two things about me. I'm very proud, and I'm hugely competitive. I'm monstrously competitive. So everything I do, I have to be the best, I'd like to be remembered for one thing, really, is he had an opinion come what may. And I think that sums up my broadcasting career.